Hi, I'm Glenn from Speak Life. We like to see all things through the lens of Jesus, including Andrew Tate. He tweeted out the other day, "As a Muslim, I have enormous respect for Christians, and I state this from a position of kindness. The universe has always ensured that the weak were conquered. Every weak nation, every weak race, every weak faith. Stop complaining about Islam and look in the mirror. If you do not stick up for yourselves, if you do not hold the proponents of your faith accountable for degrading it through tolerance, if you allow yourself to be constantly mocked, you will be crushed and replaced by Islam. I say this from kindness, you will be crushed. I genuinely encourage Christians to stick up for themselves. Islam is not your enemy. Weakness is." And this has always been the attraction of Islam to Andrew Tate. He wants the strong to rule and the weak to be crushed, to be conquered. And he says that out of kindness. Even before he made his announcement that he had become a Muslim, he said this about the kind of religion he could respect. Let's have a look.
If I had to bet on one religion as if I were betting on the stock market for the future, you have to bet on Islam. Because Muslims are intolerant. I'm not saying that disrespectfully, because if you're tolerant of everything, then you stand for nothing.
So he has always loved the fact that Islam is intolerant and will stand up for itself. Now, of course, you know, every religion and every philosophy kind of stands up for itself intellectually. What kind of standing up for itself does Andrew Tate admire about Islam? Not just its intellectual robustness. In fact, he said this:
I can walk through London with a t-shirt saying Jesus is gay and nothing will happen to me. If I did the same thing with the Islamic prophet, I'd be dead before I got to the end of the street.
Boom. There are reasons why Andrew Tate is attracted to this religion, because he is attracted to power, and he has told us he is attracted to power. That's what the tweet that we began with is all about. The universe is a place of dominance, according to Andrew Tate. And whether he sticks with Islam or not, and I think the jury is very much out on whether he'll stick with Islam, what he has really submitted to is the way of dominance, the way of power, the way of ruling over the weak. But Andrew Tate is wanting Allah for the same reasons that Andrew Tate is wanting to back the powerful. And at the same time as wanting a strong morality publicly, privately, Andrew Tate is running what he calls his war room, in which you can pay $8,000 per year and get a PhD, which he calls, and please excuse me for this language, it's his, not mine, pimping hose degree. You can get a pimping hose degree from the war room if you just fork over $8,000 per year, where he will teach you how you can exploit women so that they can become OnlyFans content creators, shall we say, and work on webcams. And let me read to you some of the things that he teaches these PhD candidates in his war room. He says, number 1, never attach feelings to any part of the process. Leave your heart completely out of it. Number 2, always aim for progression. The woman is never finished being trained. Number 3, do not tolerate any pushback. Any non-compliance is anathema. Number 4, always be in a position of dominance. Number 5, no male friend is allowed for the female. Number 6, attach value to all attention given. Number 7, sex is a weapon, not the goal. And here he is talking about this quite openly on podcasts.
The PhD course is my recruitment system. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it, and it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You f the girl. After you f the girl, you do the PhD test. If she passes the PhD test and she wants to be with you, then you start mentioning things like, yeah, but you know, you're always busy. You're always at work. You can come work for me.
Okay, so first question, when was this video taken?
Yeah, so this video is from 10 years ago.
Andrew Tate claims that this was from 10 years ago. This is part of the process that he's been teaching as recently as 2021.
For 4 years, I ran a webcam studio, which people find very interesting. I had naked girls sitting on the internet talking to guys.
So you don't, do you do that still?
I have 3 girls who still work for me. There was a webcam company. I've had nothing to do with it for 10 or 11 years.
Here is a man who prizes nature and does not want there to be a God who has, A, become weak for us, but also B, has become the sort of God that stands up for the weak and the marginalized and the oppressed and gives a sacred dignity to all people, men and women. But therefore, how do you answer the question that Andrew Tate raises about the weakness that Christianity brings into the world? And let me just finish with this. The weakness that Jesus brings into the world is a love for the weak, and it is the love of the strong for the weak. It is the stooping love. It is the condescending love. Compassion can only happen if you exercise it from a position of strength. It is an incredibly strong thing to do, to be chivalrous, to be gentlemanly. It is a very strong thing to do if I'm walking down a corridor and I open the door for you. I can only do that because I'm first. If I'm last and I say, after you, well, of course it's after you because you are first. It's only the first who can become last, so that the last can become first. Christian ethics do not abandon the idea of strength. Christian ethics condition the kind of strength that you are to wield, and you are to wield that strength on behalf of and for the sake of the weak and the poor and the marginalized, right? And what you have in Christianity is this integration of heaven and earth, of grace and nature, of word and flesh, of the strong and the weak, right? In which there is a true covenant union where Christ becomes weak for our sake, that we might be strengthened and brought into his family so that we can pass on that strength to others. And it tames male aggression and strength and sexuality, and it tells men, be strong. Be strong for those who can't be strong for themselves. Be strong and exercise that strength in the way of condescension, compassion, and love. And that is to be the most impressive kind of man. The kind of man who has to rule through dominance and fear and who has an ego so brittle he can't imagine that God could tolerate mockery because he can't tolerate mockery. That is not a strong man. That is an incredibly brittle man. That's a weak man. A man who has strength is a man who, yes, exercises strength, stands full square on his own 2 feet so that he can protect and provide for. He can stand up for the marginalized and the weak. And in that weakness, in that stooping love, he shows a strength that is greater than anything else. Let me finish with this. Nabil Qureshi was a Muslim who converted to Christianity. He wrote a wonderful book called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus, and he tells the story there, an analogy about what true strength looks like. He says, imagine if you're a Muslim and you're on your way to the mosque on Friday for Friday prayers, and on the way you go past a canal and there's a little girl, 7 years old, she's drowning in the canal. But there you are, looking your Friday best. What does the strong man do? The strong man, the glorious man, he dives down into that canal and he saves the girl and he lifts her up and he takes care of her. And he shows up at Friday prayers looking like a drowned rat, also looking like a total hero. It is more glorious to stoop and to serve and to suffer for the other than it is to remain a strong man who does 1,000 press-ups. Strength is to be exercised for the weak. Now, Nabil Qureshi applies that to the Muslim, and Nabil Qureshi says to the Muslim, you don't understand Jesus. You think that because Jesus died on that cross and looked so weak and ignominious, covered in blood and spittle, you think, therefore, he cannot be God. Think about it this way. This is the canal that the living God has dived down into in order to save you, in order to rescue you. That is not a less than godly activity. That is the true demonstration of deity. So that when Jesus becomes weak for the sake of the weak, so that he might lift us up, that is not a departure from the divine nature, that is a demonstration of the divine nature. Andrew Tate needs to meet Jesus Christ, because there is a true man, and there is the true God.